Money FM 89.3, the best of the afternoon update. The afternoon update with Lynlee Fu.
Money FM 89.3. Welcome to Industry Insight, where we explore the trends, innovations, and strategies shaping the future of business, technology, and sustainability across Singapore and the region. I'm Lynlee, and today we're diving into a topic that's at the intersection of technology and sustainability, material-to-material recycling in the consumer tech industry. Now, as e-waste continues to rise, many companies are looking for ways to close the loop on product life cycles. So how can businesses in tech not only reduce waste, but also reuse materials at scale? Today, we'll explore how material-to-material recycling works, the challenges companies face when trying to adopt circular economy principles, and how industry leaders are making sustainability more practical and hopefully profitable. Joining us is Mr. Pheng Hwa, Senior Manager at Sony Singapore's Regional Product Compliance and Environmental Sustainability Department. Mr. Chan, welcome.
Afternoon, Lynlee. Thanks for the opportunity. I'm glad to be on board.
Mr. Chan, thank you for being here. To start, let's break down a concept that's becoming central to the tech industry, which I mentioned earlier, material-to-material recycling. Could you explain what material-to-material recycling is and why is it crucial in advancing sustainability across consumer electronics and technology in general?
Sure. So material recycling basically is the process of recycling, with a subtle difference, and that is that materials are actually recovered from used products and reused as raw materials to make new products. So I think that part of the recycling is straightforward, but in this case, material-to-material recycling actually covers products of the same category and making sure of equivalent quality. So that's the difference on material-to-material recycling. And definitely, I think, advancing sustainability in the industry is crucial. And definitely why this is important is because all products actually have environmental impacts across their life cycle. And it's not just when we are using it, but actually from the very start, when we start to source for raw materials and produce it, distribute it, and finally when we dispose of it. So it's actually quite a big impact. And that's why advancing sustainability is important. And at Sony, achieving zero environmental footprint is also a very important aspect for us as a company, and especially as encoded in our Road to Zero global environmental plan, which actually sets out various targets to improve environmental performance and at the same time reduce carbon footprint. And material-to-material recycling is one aspect of it, yes.
So I understand that this is more than just traditional recycling, right, where materials lose their quality over time. You're talking about maintaining product quality even when materials are reused. Why is this so important for businesses and manufacturers, not just in the consumer tech space, but across other industries as well?
So basically this is important is because when we are actually recycling, we need to ensure that the quality is maintained, and actually more importantly as well, the product safety is also an aspect of it. So if the product degrades in quality, or if the consumer looks at the product and it doesn't look like a new one, I think that would certainly be a concern. So that's why I think for material-to-material recycling, this is a very important aspect simply because we can take materials from used products and then use it for the same category again. So I think an example here, we talk about TVs and making sure that it looks totally, in terms of look appearance, it's new, but more importantly as well, in terms of the product quality, the safety, and all aspects of it, it's the same like something, even if you are using virgin materials, for example.
Mr. Chan, do walk us through the process at Sony, from collecting the old TV covers to producing new components for the latest Bravia models. So how does it all come together?
Okay, all right, thanks. So the material recycling process that we're talking about that Sony announced recently, so basically it was made possible by successfully incorporating plastic recovered from end-of-life TVs in the designated collection facilities in Japan. So because this is starting off in Japan. So what is happening is that traditionally, you collect rear cover for the TVs and it has various types of plastics. But and it's very difficult to reuse it because for the things that I mentioned just now, like having to ensure the plastics are segregated properly and the quality is not compromised. So basically for Sony, in Japan, so there's advanced sorting technology, and basically it's that's one part. And optimal material blending methods is another part that allows us to sort out the plastics from any manufacturers and to reuse it in Soplast, which is Sony's proprietary flame retardant plastics. So essentially what we're saying is that yes, for example, for the TVs and for Sony, the rear cover, for example, we can take Sony TVs or we can take any manufacturer's TV, the rear covers, and then after that, use the sorting technology as well as the blending methods to extract out the plastic so that it can be reused in Soplast, which is the Sony's proprietary plastics. And then we can make new TVs using these plastics with the same level of quality as well as not compromising on product safety.
Mr. Chan, just out of curiosity, is there a big difference in the way the operations would be carried out here in Singapore as opposed to how they would do it in Sony Japan in terms of sustainability?
I think for Singapore, the recycling is more general in the sense that, it's actually collected. For NEA, right, the current e-waste regulation in Singapore, there's an appointed collector and recycler, which is ELBA. So they collect all kinds of plastics and even paper or any other materials for that matter, and they sort it out. But I believe it's different in the sense that it's not used in Singapore to make into new plastics and all that. I think in Singapore, it's more breaking down and sorting out the materials. And preparing it for the next stage of recycling. But it's different in that sense that in Japan, it's a closed loop thing, so that allows us to extract those pick back, extract those materials, and then finally making it into new TV covers for the new Sony TVs.
So does that mean that Sony TVs will be cheaper from now on?
I think probably I won't really be able to comment on that because environment space. So in terms of the pricing and stuff, probably.
Okay. Anyway, jokes aside, for tech companies, I can imagine one of the biggest hurdles when it comes to adopting circular economy principles must be the complex nature of materials, right, used in technology products. So what are the biggest challenges for the tech industry when it comes to recycling components like plastics, metals, and electronics? And how can businesses overcome them?
Okay. So yes, you're right that one of the biggest challenges for recycling, for example, especially plastics, is that it's not just a matter of recycling the plastics, but you actually must be able to extract the plastics and at the same time ensure that there's no contamination of the plastics. So if the plastics, for example, is mixed and you can't separate it out properly, then you won't be able to recycle effectively. So I think that is what I think the government and the NEA, the National Environment Agency, has been looking at all these years as well, and making sure that the public, for example, when we return the electronic waste products, and it can be segregated easily, and plastic is being one part. And actually, of course, in terms of material, plastic actually is the one with the biggest challenges because there are many types of plastics that you must be able to separate them, extract them, and actually recycle them efficiently and cost effectively as well. And at the same time, as we mentioned, keeping the same level of performance and quality, because if you can recycle, by the end, if the quality is not up to scratch, you will have issues as well. In terms of having a functional working product moving forward. Yes.
Okay, this sounds really, complicated to say the least. Mr. Chan, for tech companies or any industry looking to adopt circular practices, what should their first steps be?
Okay, in terms of adapting circular economy or tech practices, I think one of the main thing is to actually incorporate this in their mindset. I mean, as an organization, but because it's a circular economy thing, so I think the key one is to consider sustainability or, for example, in this case, material circulation at the product development and design stage. So I think that is one of the very important aspects. That it has to be right at the beginning of the supply chain, at the product development, at the product design stage. Because basically for the whole circular economy to work, the recycling element, actually it involves the entire ecosystems in terms of whether are we talking about recycled materials as raw materials, the product design, and in society in general, especially like Singapore's case, we have take back programs now, and we are setting up the recycling infrastructure culture, the public awareness, and so these are some of the things. But yes, maybe for a company, as you're saying, if it's circular economy, sustainability, I think one of the main things that should be considered is in terms of the material circulation, the material usage and selection, at the beginning of the product development or design stage. And to me, I think that's the most important part, because selecting the right material, the appropriate materials, and using it effectively will be the driving force for sustainability. Because if you pick materials that are not easy to recycle, for example, and then at the end of life, more energy will be needed to recycle it, for example, or it can't be recycled, then it has to be disposed. That's the key part at the start of the product life cycle.
Okay, sounds like the tech industry is clearly moving in the right direction of sustainability, but the adoption of closed-loop systems is still a work in progress. So what role do you see collaborations play, both within and outside the company, in making this closed-loop systems work even better?
Okay, collaboration is very, very important for sustainability and for circular economy. And I think, as you mentioned, both within the company as outside. So I think from within the company itself, I think the sustainability mindset must be there. So that means in terms of product development and at the very start of the whole product journey in getting a product to the customer, the design side, the company has to consider with sustainability in mind and with material usage and resource allocation and usage effectively. Of course, then in the production process as well. I think that's one part. But because that's just the company, but I think more importantly is the external factor, the society at large. Because at the end of the day, I think the sustainability journey, this is what Singapore is doing great in this direction, is that yes, the entire public has to be involved, and everyone has their roles to play actually. So I think the collaboration is very important in terms of between the companies, the government, as well as the public at large. So I think things like the public education, the awareness, these are things that is very important. So basically, it's a whole of society, whole of community thing, and I think collaboration is key to this whole thing in making it work. And I think this is the direction I think Singapore has been adopting for the past few years. We can see gradually, like I think since 2021 or 22, when the electronic waste regulation comes on board. So that's one, to encourage consumer to return their products for recycling. And I think recently also, I think they're looking at reducing plastic waste. That's another aspect. And if I'm not wrong, I think sometime early next year as well, the plastic container beverage return scheme will take effect, where if your PET bottles you return, you might get some money back or that kind of thing. So I think these are all showing the whole collaboration bit, and in a way actually it's the beginnings of the whole circular economy part, both in the tech industry as well as in industry and society at large.
Okay. Wow, it's encouraging to see that while challenges exist, there's a lot of momentum too. Now, in this region, in Southeast Asia, some markets are still developing in terms of e-waste infrastructure. What do you think companies here can do to start taking actionable steps toward creating circular products?
Yes, so I think for Southeast Asia, I think different countries are at various stages in their sustainability journey. So yes, I think for us as companies that operate in these countries, I think number one, we should be connected to the ground in the sense that what is the country's recycling infrastructure like, and at the same time take steps to ensure that we can recycle the product. So of course, it's important that for some countries maybe the recycling infrastructure is just starting off. Then in that case, I think for companies we can do in terms of like awareness, to build up the whole momentum of recycling. And of course, for countries in which such infrastructure already exists, like in Singapore, I think it's a matter of what we mentioned earlier, collaborating with the government, the regulators, as well as being involved with the community at large to inculcate a recycling mindset. Because I think many a times for this whole sustainability journey, sometimes it may appear very remote, or like, how does it affect me as a consumer or as a person on a day-to-day. But I think it all starts with awareness, it all starts with education, and with time, it's not something that will happen overnight, but with time, this journey will actually start and be effective. I think that's what we can do. And of course, I think for companies, as we mentioned earlier on, from an internal point of view, in terms of the product design, in terms of the culture, the mindset, it's still the same. Basically, it's a culture thing in a sense that it takes time to develop. But for us in the companies, as management, then walking the talk is also very important in that sense. That it's not just a buzzword.
It's really heartening to see companies pushing the envelope. Many businesses are trying to make money. They're facing the challenge of balancing growth and sustainability as well. So it's really not easy.
Yeah, it's a challenge, but definitely I think everyone can get there. As we can see, from examples all across the world, whether it's in the Europes or the Americas. So it's something that I think for us here in this region, we may be at the beginning part of the journey, but this is what makes it good because in a sense, other countries and other companies in those countries have gone before us. So there are examples out there that companies can adopt in terms of the practices, the best practices as well. And it's the same for government. I think it's quite clear that many of us learn from the European experience. For example, in the EU, they have many regulations steering towards sustainable development, corporate social responsibility, and so on.
Yeah, so lots of opportunities for growth in Southeast Asia. For our listeners, our Money FM 89.3 listeners, many of whom are probably working in procurement, tech, and business leadership roles, what steps can decision makers take to prioritize sustainability in their own businesses or personal tech choices?
Okay, thanks. So for companies, I think the main thing that we, or at least for me, as someone who is working on our environment for the longest of time, I think we need to do two things. I think the main one is, of course, remembering that at the end of the day, sustainability, right? We're talking about like environment and we're addressing actually the next generation. Essentially, it may sound cliche-ish, but we want to leave our next generation, whether our children and the children's children, a world which is better than maybe the current state of, let's say, for example, environmental destruction and so on. So I think that's the main part that companies need to remember. It's talking about the next generation. So I think that's very, very important because that's the whole part about being in business. Of course, the making money is one aspect, but I think there are other more important aspects as well. And leaving our children with a better world is, I think, one of the key part. And for that, right, I think for management, the important bit is definitely walking the talk. The sustainability journey will not work if management is just saying that, environment is important, but they don't show it in terms of the actions and in terms of trying to instill the sustainability culture in the company. So I think these are two aspects that is basically very important. And of course, I think for us here in Sony, it's also the same because we put sustainability as a core aspect of the business. And definitely for us, I think the Road to Zero program, or in terms of the activities that we carry out, we also try to fulfill our responsibility, both as a tech company in terms of coming out with innovative products, which is also built with sustainability in mind for this generation and beyond, basically.
Exactly. I think not just for environmental reasons, but because it's increasingly demanded by consumers and the next generation as well as regulators. Now, before I let you go, Mr. Chan, in the next 5 or 10 years, what excites you most about where sustainable consumer tech is heading?
Okay, I think for me, this is a very personal question. I'm glad that this was mentioned because, I have been working in the environment space since I graduated from school, I think back in the 90s. So I've joined Sony and it's my first job and I'm still in this job today. And actually, when I first joined, I was assigned the role to look at the environmental improvement and so on. So back then, this is something that is very, very new and it's very, very challenging. But as with all challenges, we learn from it. But what excites me is that from then, right, and now 30 plus years later, we can see that actually there is many companies in the region that are actually taking the sustainable journey as well. So I think you can actually see that, we are looking at increasing offering from our peers, our competitors in the region, as far as products and so on that we are built with sustainability in mind. So I think it's quite clear that heading towards the next 5 to 10 years, definitely we are going to see more and more of this. And I'm heartened by it because in those days, environment, as you mentioned rightly, that it's an afterthought. But today, actually, a lot of companies are starting to build that sustainability as a centerpiece of when they design products or bring it into market. And at the same time, of course, I think just as a quick afternote, cost is also definitely one thing that will actually benefit from it. So far from it that, looking at environment and sustainability will actually increase costs. In a sense, in the long run, it may not be the case because when you select materials, when you recycle and you use less materials and so on, you inevitably save costs for the company. But I think for the consumer, which is what we want it to benefit as well as the next generation, using energy efficient products, for example, like NEA, right? They have an energy label, or even the washing machine. It allows them to save costs as well, and of course, reducing the carbon footprint at the same time. And of course, I think finally, for us in Sony itself, I think as a main mission of our company, creativity, innovation, delivering handle to our customers and delighting them is the most important aspect. But at the same time, we also dedicate the same level of energy for environment and sustainability. For someone who's been in the environment for a long time, I think looking at the next 5-10 years in the near term, mid-term, it's something that is exciting and that fills me with hope and promise, optimism, honestly.
Wow, Mr. Chan, thank you. This has been a truly insightful conversation on how the tech industry is navigating the challenges of sustainability and circularity, and coming from a veteran, in this space as well. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you so much for giving us the time and opportunity.
He is Pheng Hwa, Senior Manager, Regional Product Compliance and Environmental Sustainability at Sony Electronics, Singapore.
To listen to more great interviews, download our podcasts at audio.sg or download the audio app. That's AWEDIO, audio at the App Store and Google Play.